Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and it is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. And joining me in the Hesselson studio, Judy, thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you. I'm so grateful.
Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. And we got a lot of breaking news this morning, and we have a lot of special guests. Two, to be exact. In this hour, we're going to be hearing from Judy Rowe. She's going to tell us all about a really special event coming up. Kind of to honor, if you will, Green Pastures. A tribute to Green Pastures in Elmira. But the event is being held this Sunday. I'm sorry, next Sunday from June 1st. How's that? From 3 to 8 p.m. at the Radisson Hotel. We're going to learn all about that in this hour. Then in the next hour, running for Steuben County Legislator in District 9, which is Cameron, Canisteo, and Thurston. Also running for Thurston Town Supervisor, re-election to Thurston Town Supervisor. Michael Vellino will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. First, let's go to a viewer comment. Mark writes in this morning. Good morning. Well, good morning, Mark. It's What's Worth Talking About Wednesday with Mark. Thank you, Mark. Corning Painted Post and Horsehead school budgets are blasted. Senate approved no tax on tips. And an investigation has started on Cuomo putting COVID victims in nursing homes, killing many people. You're exactly right, Mark. Those would be the biggest takeaways. Let's talk about the school budgets. The unofficial results, of course, coming from the Corning Painted Post School District. Now, they needed to get 60% of the vote on a vote yes because they were nearly 8% increase. So the budget did not pass. As a matter of fact, it was nearly 60% that voted no. There was 1,927 yes votes, according to the Corning Painted Post School District. On the no votes, 2,860. And I will say, I had a lot of people texting, a lot of people calling me, a lot of people I knew, myself included, who stood in line quite a long time. So I knew the turnout would be good. I had about a 30-minute from beginning to end wait before I could vote. And you never know how that will translate. There was a big push on the vote yes with their signs and some posts on social media. But at the end of the day, no's receiving almost 60%. Also, probably due to the fact, I should say, that so many people were upset by the 8%, that the bus and vehicle Proposition 2, did not pass. Did not pass by 48.96%. It was number of votes, yes votes, 2,324. No, 2,423. So about a 100 vote difference there. Your votes matter, folks. They count. And when it came to member election results, Kate Merrill received the most votes at 2,467, followed by Dr. Ashley Johnson Long at 2,420, then Margie Lawler at 2,292, and a fourth seat left vacant from recent resignation, Aaron Merrill, 2,289. Now, on the library, which I think the library, again, because of the timing on this, because the Corning Painted Post School District was asking for such an exorbitant increase, maybe you could say the library suffered on that with a did not pass vote, with 2,361 voting yes and 2,387. Think of how close that is. So Corning Painted Post School District's budget did not pass overwhelmingly. Now, if you have a specific area that you want me to look into, I have a pretty extensive list, and I can search during a commercial break. If you are in a school district and you have not heard the results or want to find out more, please let me know. Now, I know the Addison Central School District budget, that was one that was in question. That did pass by 63%. Again, I'm not going to read through all of these, but if you have a question, I can try to do my best to get you the information. As Mark had suggested, many people were focused on horse heads, somewhat for the same reasons that Corning Painted Post was such a focus, if you will. The Horseheads Central School District budget received 1,201 votes to 1,159 on no. So that's at 51%. I believe they too needed 60%. So that did not pass as well. So big news on the local front. And again, please feel free to weigh in if you have any questions about your specific district, and I will do my best to get you that information. But also on the statewide front, and this is very big. We talked about this extensively yesterday. Former governor, disgraced governor, Andrew Cuomo, is running his mayoral campaign on the back of his response to COVID. Now, many viewers, and myself included, were outraged by that because we know that he made perhaps the worst decision in all of the COVID pandemic as an elected official, which was to put COVID-positive patients into nursing homes amongst our most vulnerable population, which led to the death of untold amounts of people. And I say untold because he tried to cover up those deaths. He tried to hide that decision. He has never once apologized to the families that were not able to see their loved ones as they passed. Many people in this audience, many people throughout the state, outraged at his attitude and the overall decision. Well, the Justice Department has reportedly opened a criminal investigation into former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo for allegedly lying to Congress about the nursing home deaths in the Empire State. We watched that. Even people in his own party at the time were suggesting that he lied. But again, Cuomo seeming almost untouchable when it comes to real repercussions. Because look, yes, did he have to resign from the governorship for harassment, sexual harassment, and these type of things? Yes, he did. By the way, remember, in those trials because it was while he was governor, you and I, the taxpayers, paid for his legal defense for his alleged sexual harassment to the tune of $70 million. But at the end of the day, he is the clear favorite to win the primary to be mayor. And once he wins the primary, most likely, I mean, Eric Adams could defeat him. But most likely, and you've heard me make this prediction, I don't like making predictions, but I think Cuomo would be, if he wins that primary, the next mayor of New York City. But the probe into the mayoral frontrunner was launched about a month ago by the Washington, D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. The New York Times reported this yesterday, kind of late, citing two people familiar with the matter. The office was led at the time by Ed Martin, who was replaced earlier this month by Jeanine Pirro. The Republican-led panel, House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to pursue criminal charges against Cuomo, a Democrat, for making criminally false statements during a June 11, 2024 interview with the House COVID Subcommittee. The chairman of that committee, James Comer, charged that there was overwhelming evidence that Cuomo presided over a July 6, 2020 audit that undercounted the total number of deaths in New York senior care facilities during the pandemic by a whopping 46%. It was a cover-up because he knew how damaging this would be to his quote-unquote legacy. And now he had the audacity to allegedly lie to Congress about it. We know that he has never once been apologetic. In his testimony, the ex-governor was adamant that he had not drafted, reviewed, discussed, or consulted people for peer review on the nursing home report. Comer previously referred Cuomo for prosecution last year, but his request was denied by former President Joe Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland. Now, the former governor's spokesperson, Rich Azzopardi, told the New York Post that he was unaware of any investigation. Quote, "We have never been informed of any such matter, so why would someone leak it now? The answer is obvious. This is lawfare and election interference, plain and simple. Something President Trump and his top Department of Justice officials say they are against." Governor Cuomo testified truthfully to the best of his recollection about events from 4 years earlier, and he offered to address any follow-up questions from the subcommittee. But from the beginning, this was all transparently political. Ironic coming from someone like Cuomo and his spokesperson. But he continued, the wheels of justice are This coming from a tweet by a group called Voices for Seniors, said the wheels of justice are finally beginning to turn. For over 5 years, our movement has been fueled by heartbreak and a single-minded demand for the truth. This investigation is not just justified, it's overdue. The evidence paints a damning picture of a leader more concerned with image than integrity. What a great way of putting that. Grieving families have waited long enough. And he was more concerned about his image. He was more concerned at that time about writing the book. There's a reason why they tried to cover up the numbers. He knew how disastrous this could be for him. This is someone who was really at the top of his game in his mind during COVID, where he had the daily press conferences. But amid all of that, never mind the fact that he let his family jump ahead of the line to what was then very, very rare and precious COVID tests. Never mind, he threatened us in upstate New York that he would take away our ventilators and use them in the city. Never mind that he left that ship that Trump sent empty, when instead, while that was empty, he put, again, COVID-positive patients in nursing homes. I would argue, and I would think I could argue successfully, it was the worst decision made by an elected official during the COVID pandemic. And it was really those in our area that highlighted the fact that he was doing this. And it took really one or two Democrats to call it out, who unfortunately their lives were affected by it, where they lost loved ones. And that's when the wheels started to come off for the Cuomo administration. Co-founder Vivian Zayas, co-founder of Voices for Seniors, said, "Thank God our fight has not been in vain. We are just elated this investigation of Cuomo is going forward. It's long overdue victory for the nursing home families and their loved ones. Others saying that Cuomo should be held accountable. It's that simple. We need to know if Cuomo was lying about following federal guidelines. He forced nursing homes to accept COVID-positive patients, and thousands of nursing home residents needlessly died. Now, he has downplayed this. He has time and time again denied it. He has time and time again refused to apologize to those families. New York is 6,600. Cuomo scrawled in the margins of one draft page, despite more than 9,000 perishing, with counting those that were in the hospital. The final report cited just 6,432 fatalities. Janine Pirro, who is handling the probe, is a former political rival of Cuomo's. Pirro said, "You cannot escape the consequences of your intentional and reckless act. You cannot escape your intentional cover-up. That Cuomo dooms seniors," and this is very accurate, "to a death sentence." Pirro further argued that New York prosecutors should consider manslaughter and negligent homicide charges against Cuomo over that policy. The report of the investigation into the mayoral frontrunner comes one day after Cuomo released a new campaign ad touting his, and I put this in quotes, leadership during the pandemic. So there we are. Great breaking news yesterday. Now his opponent, arguably in second place in the polls, Democrat Socialist Queens Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani, recently speaking in very far left terms, kind of that, they say pro-Palestine, but kind of those anti-Israel protests. But he said Andrew Cuomo's career has been defined by corruption and deceit, and his lying to Congress about his COVID response is no exception. But Donald Trump cannot be trusted to pursue justice. While I believe New Yorkers should reject the disgraced ex-governor at the ballot box, the Trump administration actions are dangerous. So the DOJ has opened an investigation. I know that will come as a huge relief to many of you who are so outraged by the governor and the way he's handled this from the beginning. Not just the disastrous decision, but the arrogance in which he has handled this and the questions from the beginning. So DOJ opens an investigation into Andrew Cuomo over the nursing home deaths. Again, we can talk about the school budgets. Corning did not pass, nor did the Proposition 2 pass, nor did the library Proposition pass. In Horseheads, that budget did not pass either, though much closer. In Corning Pen and Post, they needed 60% yes votes. They actually received 60% no votes, so a very big loss there. Not necessarily a surprise when it comes to asking for an 8%, nearly 8% increase, but you never know what to expect with school budgets. And let's face it, there is a large population of teachers that work at those schools in the area. So you're never exactly sure how it's going to go. The lines were very lengthy yesterday. And I didn't know how that would play out, but we see this morning exactly how it played out. So keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. If you have any questions about a specific school district, let me know, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
This is Summer with Nissan. It's a great time to buy at the Nissan Summer Sales Event, featuring the award-winning Rogue and Pathfinder. Now more affordable. Get the #1 shopping experience according to J.D. Power. Hurry to a Nissan dealer today.
Now get a low $249 per month lease on Rogue, or get a low $339 per month lease on Pathfinder.
You think swimming Pools, think Hesselson's. Hesselson's offers expert advice, professional service, and a complete line of chemicals and accessories. Replacement liners, motors and pumps, automatic vacuums, skimmers, ladders, steps, and more. Hesselson's has it all. Do you have a chemical question? Come in for Hesselson's free computerized water analysis and the widest selection of chlorine and specialty chemicals. With Hesselson's help, you can clean up any pool problem and swim in sparkling clean water. Let Hesselson's show you how easy it can be to take care of your swimming pool. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Who am I?
Wow, is that really me?
Hi, I'm Jonathan Greenhut, the CEO of Plexiderm. All it takes is 10 minutes to reduce the appearance of under eye bags, wrinkles, and crow's feet. The instant results are from naturally based silicates found in shell clay. Once applied, your skin tightens and firms. Take action with our Plexiderm 10-minute challenge. Try it today for only $14.95 plus get free shipping. Visit plexidermtrial.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are just joining us this morning, the two major budgets that were the most discussed on this program, school budgets, Corning Paint and Post was defeated overwhelmingly by just under 60% no votes. Now, Horseheads did, I believe it was receive 51%, was it yes votes? But it didn't matter. They needed 60%. So that was, you could argue, overwhelmingly defeated as well. So if you have any questions about a specific district, please let me know. I have a pretty extensive list here. That was probably not everything. So it was 51% yes for Horseheads, but they needed to hit that 60% threshold. And Corning Paint and Post, all three propositions were defeated, though each one getting less and less defeated, if that makes sense. But the budget proposition was overwhelmingly defeated. So the House Rules Committee is continuing to meet and debate hours after it first convened around 1 a.m. this morning on President Trump's big, beautiful bill agenda. But so far, there's no indication that the GOP leaders are close to reaching a deal for final changes to the bill, as key sticking points remain between conservatives and moderates. Frustrated Democrats have pointed out that some GOP members have not even spent much time in the committee room as negotiations among Republicans as they try to reach a deal for the final text continues. Now, as Mark had mentioned, the Senate unanimously approved a $25,000 tax break for tipped workers. The U.S. Senate has passed a new bill that would offer a tax deduction on tips worth up to $25,000. If enacted into law, would also extend to business tax credits for payroll taxes on tips and beauty and spa services. Ted Cruz is pushing the proposal, which passed unanimously, an outcome considered rare for substantial legislation. There are stipulations in the new bill. An employee will with compensation exceeding $160,000 in the prior tax year would not be eligible to claim the new tax deduction for tips. The bill is limited to cash tips received by occupations that are customarily tipped. Waiters, waitresses, beauty services, hair care, nail care, body and spa treatments, etc. Now, the budget lab at Yale says they estimate that there will be approximately 4 million workers in tipped occupations in 2023. They must also be reported by the employee to the employer for withholding payroll taxes. Under the current law, only tips exceeding $20 per month are required to be reported. The new bill, if passed, would cost $110 billion in federal revenues over 10 years. Senator Jackie Rosen, a Democrat from Nevada, pointed out during her floor speech that the bill was one of President Donald Trump's key campaign promises. "I'm not afraid to embrace a good idea," she said, "wherever it comes from. So I agree we need to get this done." The passing of the bill through the Senate occurs as Republicans attempt to seek advancement of a massive tax cut and spending package, the big, beautiful bill as it is affectionately known. The next step is the House of Representatives before this becomes law, but a big step in the right direction. Trump also named the leader. Yeah, we're going to be going through some stories quickly this morning because we do have two special guests on the broadcast. But Trump has named the Golden Dome leader as the House advances the $25 billion in funding for the missile defense project. He named Space Force General Michael Gutlein to lead his Golden Dome project to improve and integrate America's missile defense technology, as House Republicans included $25 billion for the plan in the latest version of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Trump said the plan would make good on Ronald Reagan's Star Wars project back in the 80s. And I would say that most people, so remember, Ronald Reagan got a huge amount of pushback on his Star Wars project. But a lot of people, and I remember talking about this years ago, a lot of people believe that was put into effect, that if, heaven forbid, a nuclear weapon was sent our way, that we would be able to, shoot it down in the air. That is not the case. And that's what the Golden Dome is now all about. So many people thinking that the Star Wars was in effect, and it never was. That, of course, at the time mocked and ridiculed by Democrats and the media. And we're going to talk about the media a little bit later on. Trump said, "We will truly be completing the job that President Reagan started 40 years ago, forever ending the missile threat to the American homeland. The success rate is very close to 100%, which is incredible when you think of it. You're shooting bullets out of the air." Canada has called us, and they want to be a part of it, so we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also. So, as usual, we help Canada. Interesting way of putting that. There could be some trade-offs there. The president said the new project would be done in about 3 years by the time he leaves office. The Golden Dome name is taken from Israel's U.S.-funded Iron Dome system that has a high success rate in shooting down short-range missiles from neighboring terrorist groups. Trump vowed once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they're launched from space. And we will have the best system ever. We helped Israel with theirs and it's very successful. And now we have the technology that's even far more advanced than that. Hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, and advanced cruise missiles, all of them will be knocked out of the air. P. Hegseth said President Reagan 40 years ago cast the vision for it. The technology wasn't there now it is. And you're following through, saying we will protect the homeland from cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, drones, whether they're conventional or nuclear. The pending legislation, whose major provision includes Trump's campaign pledge to cut taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security benefits, allocates various funding pools for the project. So there's an update on that as well. We got to take a short break. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. If you have any questions about the school budget, Corning Paint and Post overwhelmingly defeated, nearly 60% no votes, and the other two props also defeated. And in Horseheads, 51% yes votes, but they needed to reach that 60% threshold because they're exceeding the 2% cap. All right, there's your main updates. Stay with us. A lot more to talk about the One Big Beautiful Bill. There's been a lot of pushback lately on the media, and specifically Jake Tapper, for this book that he has released, trying to essentially rewrite history to defend the media's role in what is arguably the biggest scandal in presidential history, and that is covering up the mental decline of Joe Biden. And now there's questions that people are raising in regards to his recent diagnosis of prostate cancer because of the time frame. Also, the announcement coming right before this book was released. So a lot of questions there. We're going to get to that. Just a couple other quick things on the One Big Beautiful Bill. And then in just a little bit, we'll be talking with Judy Rowe. She has a great event coming up at the Radisson on June 1st. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
will help you grow a green thumb.
Attention all, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. On your mark, get set, row.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the Southern Tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Bix website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by our friends at Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Comment from a viewer. Just a comment regarding Joe, meaning former President Joe Biden. When it rains, it pours. He's definitely having some bad luck. There's a lot of piling on right now. A lot of people in the Democrat Party in this book. Notice they all talk about his mental health after he's no longer an entity, no longer an issue. Same with the media. Now they want to report on it after he's no longer, for lack of a better word, relevant. But the Democrat Party trying to blame him in this book, very quick to speak to the reporters for why they lost, that he should have got out earlier, as they were propping him up the whole time. We said it at the time. During the time, we're saying they're propping him up. And if someone's surrounded, especially someone with some mental decline, if they're surrounded by people that keep saying you're great, you're sharp as a tack, the media saying you're sharp as a tack, why would he think he shouldn't run for 4 years? So the media and their cover-up, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers of the world, they're more to blame than Joe Biden himself, in my humble opinion. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Again, Corning and Horseheads school budgets have been defeated. If you have any questions about specific school districts, please reach out at that number on the bottom of the screen. I know it was very crowded at many polling locations, so to those who stuck it out, good for you. Back to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Trump ripped into the Republicans who he called grandstanders. You got to be careful on some of the language, by the way. Did you see that Trump used? He told, we'll say, don't mess around with Medicaid. He told Republicans in what is more an R-rated remark than what I had just used. We're not doing any cutting of anything meaningful. The only thing we're cutting is waste, fraud, and abuse. So don't mess around with Medicaid. But back to the grandstanders. I don't think Thomas Massie understands government, he said. I think he's a grandstander. And I think he should be voted out of office. Mike Johnson can't necessarily like that position. As this was before they went in to speak, this was talking to reporters. The president added, it's not a question of holdouts. We have a tremendously unified party. I don't think we've ever had a party like this. There are some people that want a couple of things that maybe I don't like or they're not going to get. He acknowledged the Republican lawmakers have got to make a couple of tweaks to the bill before a possible vote on final passage. Trump added of Speaker Johnson, I don't think there's anybody that's more well-suited to be Speaker of the House. And then he described himself as a big fan of Johnson. Trump also told Representative Mike Lawler, who is speculating that there's speculation that he is going to run for governor here in New York State, though A lot of people want to see Elise Stefanik. We even had many members of this audience suggest that their $200 to $400 inflation rebate check will be going to her campaign if she decides to run. But President Trump told Representative Mike Lawler to back off on his demand for a higher limit on state and local tax deductions called SALT, as it threatens unity for Trump's big, beautiful bill. One of the problems with this is they got kind of greedy. It was at 30,000, and then they said, and when originally it was at 10,000, so they get it to 30,000, and then they say they want even more. Trump told Representative Lawler, "I know your district better than you do." Adding that if the Hudson Valley Republican loses his re-election bid in 2026, it'll be because of the SALT cap because voters think the SALT cap is too low, then Lawler was going to lose anyway. That's a very good point. If you were going to lose because your constituents thought the SALT cap was too low, you weren't going to win anyway. Lawler defeated Democrat Mondaire Jones by 6.3 percentage points in the 17th congressional district last year, a fact that Trump also called attention to during the discourse. He gave Mike Lawler some praise, but also encouraged him that, he won his race by a lot, said Lauren Boebert. Trump also made clear he's losing patience with all holdout factions of the House Republican Conference, including the SALT Caucus and the House Freedom Caucus. Now, Mike Lawler, and I don't think this helps if he runs for governor, but he said, while I respect President Trump and understand the importance of passing this legislation, I will not do so at the expense of my district, one of only 3 held by a Republican that Kamala Harris won in November. For over 2 years, I have been abundantly clear to everyone, from the president to House leadership, about the importance of lifting the cap on SALT. It's one of the reasons why I won and why we even have a House Republican majority. Anyway. So Boebert said she was very pleased to hear the president say we don't want to increase SALT deduction limits. All right, that's what we're dealing with this morning on the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. We have got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk with our guest, Judy Rowe. But I have a comment here from a viewer. The threat of Corning Painted Post cutting kids' programs instead of the fat didn't work. Is the school board listening? Great point. They use the scare tactics, there's nothing new under the sun. This has been done a million times. So you've heard my prediction. First of all, I predicted that, and this is not to pat myself on the back, this is so easily predictable, that what they would do is suggest the cuts that would need to be made are things that are really going to tug at your heartstrings. After school activities, international baccalaureate diploma program, even going as far as saying that they were going to take resource officers out of the elementary school with the most vulnerable children. They were taking security out, essentially. It was, I think that had a little bit of backlash. And then, of course, the guilt trip, which is vote yes for the kids. When everybody is fully aware at this point that the the extreme costs are coming from administration. And there, of course, was no discussions of cutting administration. It was quite the opposite. It was, well, there's nothing we can do. They're in the contracts. Now, you and I would say, well, there's ways of looking at that. When someone retires, maybe not hiring somebody else new, or whatever the case may be. Or some have even suggested, and I thought this was a good point, if Harvard's president can take a 25% pay cut in support, for some reason, of that anti-Semitic protest, but we'll put that part of it aside, why not the administration and some of the administration at Corning Painted Post? So there's all that discussion. But now the next level of that prediction, we'll see if it comes true. They'll come back with another proposal. It'll probably, if I had to guess, be around 5. I'm not going to put an exact number, but probably around 5.9, right? Something like that, 5.5, something like that. And they'll say, see, we did it, and we're going to be able to save this job, and it's going to be tough, but we really tightened our belt. And unfortunately, if history repeats itself, people say, well, thank heavens they made the cuts that we demanded. But if you really take a step back, if they would have started with that, let's say 6%, you would have been outraged on that number. But because they look like they're making the change, then everybody seems to do a reversal and say, all right, thank you for doing that for us. So time will tell what they propose. If it was a ask for everything you want, and then when you don't get it, you kind of move down a little bit, move down just enough. And again, will that be enough for voters to say, okay, thank you? Or will it be a nice try? We've got to start having discussions of how you're going to rein in spending. It can't be an increase every single year without any type of explanation of what you're going to do next year to keep it at the cap. How about that? How about let's have that discussion? But that discussion is not being had. It's just every year they want essentially a blank check. And it backfired because the no votes in Corning Pen and Post reaching nearly 60% no votes, when to get the increase they needed 60% yes votes. Also in Horseheads, they received 51% yes votes, but that was not enough because they needed to reach the 60%. If you have any questions about your specific school district, let me know. We are running late. Coming up next, Judy Rowe will be our guest. We're going to hear about a really fun event coming up here in Corning. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we will be right back.
When it comes to fun, it's what we do. See the Spinners live. Get tickets now for $20 at Ticketmaster.com and the gift shop. All sales benefit the Southern Tier Veteran Support Group, Tioga Downs Casino Resort. Fun is what we do.
Hey, this is John with John's Tree Service. Spring is here and summer is coming. Do you have a tree in your backyard that just doesn't look nice? Kind of makes your property look a little rough? John's Tree Service, licensed, insured, locally owned, and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Do you have a monster tree in your backyard? Is there no access to it? Can it not be climbed? Is it too dead? We can put our crane and reach over your house and pull that tree down, do it in a safe manner. Coming to a neighborhood near you to service all your tree needs. Call today at 607-377-6513.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC, or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
When it's to fun, it's what we do. See the Spinners live. Get tickets now for $20 at Ticketmaster.com and the gift shop. All sales benefit the Southern Tier Veteran Support Group, Tioga Downs Casino Resort.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and it is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. And joining me in the Hesselson studio, Judy, thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here.
I'm excited to hear all about this event, and it's called Chicken and Jazz, a tribute to Green Pastures, because I was shocked when I saw the statement that Green Pastures has been closed since 2011.
I know, you and me both. So my husband and I, first of all, I'm a member of the Ethica Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and we want to raise funds.
Yes.
So my husband and I were kicking around ideas one day, and we were big, huge fans of Wednesday's Chicken and Jazz at Green Pastures, and so Joe said, everyone's forgotten about that history here in Elmira. Why don't you bring that back as a fundraiser? I'm like, brilliant idea.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So we are going to be giving a tribute to the Green Pastures Chicken and Jazz.
That's wonderful.
And we're going to have all the soul food there. We're going to have live jazz music with Rob Wilson, and he has a trio coming to play that music, and he's going to have recorded music. We're going to have the food. We're going to have fellowship. We're going to have fun. So I just want people to join us.
Do you find that people, and we're going to talk about food, that always keeps people hooked. So we're going to talk more about the food, trust me. But with the Green Pastures, do you find that people that attend this fundraiser, do they all remember Green Pastures, or is it kind of a mixed bag?
Well, that's the thing, Frank.
Yeah.
So when Joe and I were talking about it, I didn't think anything of it. But then the more we kept promoting the event, we realized we remember Green Pastures, but nobody else did. And I mean, there are people here that never went. There are people that are younger that don't remember the history. And we said, well, this is a great time to get them in touch with the history. Yeah. So we are trying to educate people about Green Pastures and Chicken and Jazz, and while we're raising funds for our Ithaca Alumni chapter.
So do you have a little, like a presentation about Green Pastures?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, the Arts Council actually has online, it's called Southern Finger Lakes Traditions.
Okay.
And there is a website, and it has live interviews. It has a lot of the history of Green Pastures, and it has all the different things that they did and the people that were involved. Amazing. It's an amazing website. T.C. Owens from the Arts Council actually put that together.
Yeah, of course. Well, maybe just a quick overview. If people aren't familiar with Green Pastures, what should they know about the history of Green Pastures?
Yeah, so the history is that since 1932, I think that's when they were founded. You know, B. Johnson actually started it, and then later on, one of her neighbors took it over, which was Howard Coleman, and that's who we remember connected with it. They were really on the Chitlins, what they call the Chitlin Circuit. Yeah. They were during segregation, people would travel through, and this was a safe place for people that were African American musicians to stay, and they would play. Yeah. They would play there, and then every time a musician would come through, or locally, the high school students would play there. It just got people a chance to hear live jazz music in an area that probably didn't have anything like it.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so, again, it just was a place for people to commingle. He created community. He believed that when you come as a stranger, you leave as a friend. Yeah. That was his tagline.
Oh, isn't that great?
Yeah, isn't that fantastic?
He was ahead of the curve on that, I think.
I know, right?
It sounds like a lot of big chain stores.
It's
that's
fantastic.
Beautiful.
But yeah, and we always had a good time. And in fact, I worked at Corning Incorporated, and we used to do some of our celebrations there just to hear the music and have fellowship and fun and really good soul food.
Well, it's Chicken and Jazz, a tribute to Green Pastures, is coming up right away, Sunday, June 1st from 3 to 8 p.m. at the Radisson Hotel in Corning. When did the sorority get involved in this?
Well, we as a sorority, we have a huge amount of pillars. We do educational, economic programs, international programs, physical and mental health programs for the community, the local community, and we even do some political awareness things. Yeah. And so we realized we needed to raise more funds. Yeah. We give two scholarships in different areas of this area. Yeah. And we needed to make more funds so we can give more and do more in the community. So we always have signature events. Yeah. And we were looking for ideas, and then Joe and I talked about this, and I brought it to sorority. And this is the first year and the first time Green Pastures has been featured for a fundraiser. Is that right? Oh, this is the first time. Oh. We are hoping that people are interested enough that it can become an annual event and something that can help bring people together to celebrate and also raise funds for a good cause.
You guys are so ahead of the ball on this. I didn't realize this was the first.
It's the first time. Wow. And in fact, I reached out to the 2 living relatives that I know of. Yeah. So Howard Coleman's, his children, Howard Coleman Jr. and then Charisse, who lives up in Ithaca. We're hoping to have them there. And then we also are hoping to have maybe someone from the Hayward family, because that was their father played jazz music there, and that was one of his first gigs. And they want to come and celebrate as well. I hope they'll be able to join us.
So is there a specific, with the money raised, is there a specific cause, the scholarships right now, or is it a whole,
It's scholarships and programs. Yeah. So mainly the scholarship program, we give, we've given more than 50 scholarships over time. Oh, wow. And the sorority also wants to do more good in the community. So we have programs around health and health awareness, breast cancer. We've had some different mobile units that come to different places to encourage women to get their breast cancer screenings done, and mammograms. And then we also have done programs in the schools. You name it, we've been there and we've done it. So we're raising money for all those things.
Chicken and Jazz, a tribute to Green Pastures, coming up June 1st from 3 to 8 at the Radisson Hotel. How has the planning been going so far? Because it's getting close.
It's getting really close. Well,
Too close for comfort?
Oh, my gosh. So we have so much going on, and so we have the committee that's working. There's 6 of us that are working really hard to make this happen. And so we've got all the provisions. Radisson's been phenomenal partner to work with. And you're right, it's getting close.
Yeah.
We need people to come.
Of
if
course.
you would just come eat,
Yeah.
Enjoy community, enjoy good jazz, and enjoy food. And then there's a silent auction, there's a 50-50 raffle. All those things are going to be things that you're going to be able to experience there.
What a better way to spend a Sunday. Chicken and Jazz. It's right in the title.
I know. And, we did a tasting at the Radisson. And I got to say, the Chef Bill, he did an amazing job on the chicken. We've got collard greens. We've got, that's exactly what they served at Green's Pastures. You get one meal. That's all you had, one choice. Collard greens, fried chicken, and then macaroni salad. So he has all those things prepared, and he did a phenomenal job with the tasting. We're looking forward to the food.
Now that you've got us all hungry, what does the rest of the event look like?
Well, we're just going to have, live music, so that's going to be the staple, and hopefully we're praying that Anita Lewis will be joining us for a few songs in the set, so you can expect to learn about Chicken and Jazz. We're going to talk about and hopefully have a few words from the relatives that might come there. Hopefully they will be able to make it. We know Howard's going to be there. Then we're going to be doing, again, the 50-50 raffle. We're going to do a silent auction, so you have an opportunity to see all the amazing things that people have been so generous to donate to our cause. And then we're just going to talk about the scholarships. Very little talking, a lot of eating.
A lot of music.
And a lot of music, and possibly dancing, because we will have recorded music as well. So it's just an easy afternoon, like easy breezy, brunch style.
What a great Sunday.
Yeah, we're hoping that.
And it's for a great cause.
It's amazing.
You get to hear great music. You get to eat good food. You may have some luck on the 50-50 or a silent auction.
Yes.
I can't think much of a better Sunday to spend, to be honest with you. It hardly sounds like a fundraiser. It sounds like a good night out.
It sounds like it, yes.
Is there anything in the silent auction you can give away?
Ooh, boy, we have, I don't know.
Maybe better not. Yeah.
Maybe I better not, but I'll just hint that there's beautiful glass pieces. We've got wonderful food items, gourmet food items where you can go and have an experience. Just some really good things. And you can do it here. And there's purses for women that like purses. And a couple of things from Ithaca. So we're trying to do the full region experience.
The whole community.
The whole community.
Now, how can someone, let's say they can obviously go and support it that way, but are there other ways they can help if they're not able to attend, or even if they are attending?
Absolutely, absolutely. So they can donate. Donate anything. If you have something that you would like to donate for silent auction, more than happy to help with that. Always need money. If money goes directly to the programs that we're serving for the Ithaca Alumni Chapter Delta Sigma Theta, and we certainly would appreciate you spreading the word.
Yeah, and you're always looking for sponsors too.
Absolutely, we're looking for sponsors, and that gives you an opportunity to promote yourself in an audience that maybe you might not have been in front of. You never know.
Exactly. Now, what's the cost for a ticket for the Chicken and Jazz?
So it is $80. Okay. So that gives us an opportunity to give you great food from the Radisson. It's a beautiful location. We'll have it beautifully decorated, and it gives you live music.
Yeah.
You get food, you have fun, and you have an opportunity to meet people that maybe you haven't met before. So
where can people find out more?
Yeah, so find out more. You can go to the Ithaca Alumni Chapter Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated website, really long. But if you want to look for me, you see my name at the bottom. Look for me on Facebook. So I've advertised the posters there right on my page. I'll repost it again after you and I talk. And thank you again for having me here. And so you can see there's a QR code on the poster. To learn about Chicken and Jazz, and there's another one to buy tickets and donate.
Okay, and I will say, if anybody has any questions, if they see the number on the bottom of the screen, I can get them the information too. I'd be more than happy to do that. Well, I'm excited for this. I think this is going to be a yearly tradition. So will you come back on next year?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I hope that if you're free, we'll see you there.
Yeah, it's Chicken and Jazz, a tribute to Green Pastures, Sunday, June 1st from 3 to 8 p.m. at the Radisson Hotel in Corning. Don't miss it. Thanks for being on the show this morning.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
When it comes to pizza, subs, Wings, strombolis, and calzones, nobody does it better than Picnic Pizza. Picnic Pizza has been serving the Twin Tiers for over 40 years. With 2 convenient locations to serve you, Horseheads and Big Flats, you can dine in, carry out, or we'll deliver in a 5-mile radius. We offer everyday in-house specials like a family pack, 1 large pizza, 1 dozen wings, and 1 quart of soda. Having a party? How about a party pack? 1 sheet pizza, 2 dozen wings, and 2 quarts of soda. Picnic Pizza, the best darn pizza in the area.
Scamming is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar, Recognizing and Avoiding Financial Scams, Wednesday, June 4th at the Main Place in Hornell, New York, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and fraud watch tips. Also, the Steuben County Office for the Aging will provide tips on emergency preparedness, June 4th at 12 p.m. To learn more, go to steubencountiny.gov/235.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Harder makes it hard to keep your home looking like the work of art you've always envisioned it would be. Culligan softeners reduce hard water buildup and your cleaning time, transforming every drop, every splash, every rinse into the fine art of a long-lasting clean. With a Culligan water softener, revel in the breathtaking beauty of your home, just the way you've always pictured it. Culligan, water you love.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC, or visit our website at WYDC. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you to Judy Rowe for being our guest this morning. That sounds like a very fun event, and I hope you consider attending next Sunday. So we're wrapping up hour number 1. Where did hour number 1 go? But let's end on a few comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Finally, some good news to wake up to. I was thinking by the looks of the lines at the polling places, not to mention my own, it had to be a pretty good sign. And to defeat all 3 props, it's a first. I think people are maxed out and not real happy with our education system. We usually like to get what we pay for, and we don't buy the things that are wasteful or misleading. I do believe you're right. I think people are fed up. Now, having said that, there will be another vote, and it'll be interesting to see if people settle for that, whatever that number will ultimately be. But yes, to have all 3 props, I mean, really, the library was not in a good place, because normally that would have not been an issue. But I think people were so upset by the nearly 8% increase that it was a no, no, no. Now, to your point, I wasn't sure what the long lines meant. I wasn't sure. I mean, let's face it, a big part of the workforce in Corning Painted Post are teachers, administrators, people that are associated with the schools. So would they get out and vote? A lot of young people, and I didn't know where that was where their interests were going to be directed. So I wasn't sure. People were asking me, as we all had to wait in line, what that would mean. I wasn't sure, but overwhelmingly in Corning Painted Post, the budget failed by getting nearly 60% no votes. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. It looks as though the defenders of bloated school budgets have all left the state or no longer have children in school. Your producer should play Bob Dylan's "The Times They Are A-Changin'" between segments. I appreciate it. By the way, I'm the producer and director and host. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to play that song, meaning like regular music. Anyway, but yes, hopefully times are changing. But I would say we can't necessarily count our chickens before they're hatched, because yes, the first proposal overwhelmingly defeated. But again, to the point I keep making, will they come back at still a very high increase? And people say, well, at least you tried, thank you, and then they vote yes. I don't know. History has seen that does happen. You know, they went very high to almost anger us with 8%, and then when they come in at 5.9 or 5.5 and they say, wow, we really did it this time, we really saved a lot, and people go, oh, that's fine, where if they would have started with a 5.5 or 6%, they would have been outraged. So time will tell. I'm going to say I hope the times are changing, but it may be a little early. We'll see after the next proposal and after more public forums and the like. Okay, if you have any questions about your school district in particular, let me know and I can find that information for you. Also, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking with candidate for Steuben County Legislature in District 7. That's Cameron, Canisteo, and Thurston. Michael Valino. He's also running for re-election for Thurston Town Supervisor. We'll hear all about that in the next hour. But stay with us. Hour number one. It's unbelievable. Hour number one in the books. Hour number two, mere moments away.
When you think swimming pools, think Hesselson's. Hesselson's offers expert advice, professional service, and a complete line of chemicals and accessories. Replacement liners, motors and pumps, automatic vacuums, skimmers, ladders, steps, and more. Hesselson's has it all. Do you have a chemical question? Come in for Hesselson's free computerized water analysis and the widest selection of chlorine and specialty chemicals. With Hesselson's help, you can clean up any pool problem and swim in sparkling clean water. Let Hesselson's show you how easy it can be to take care of your swimming pool. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
It's the 25 Cardboard Boat Regatta. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025.
Anyone, anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car.
With cameras everywhere, you can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the Southern Tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m.
Hour number two of Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I am your host, Frank Acom. Thank you for joining us. The breaking news this morning, the biggest story, the school budgets, both Corning and Horseheads were defeated. If you have any questions about your specific district, let me know. Good point from this viewer who wrote in at the end of the last hour. Apparently, there are a lot of rich people in Elmira. The entire school budget passed, and passed easily. 80% of the votes for Elmira City School District, yes, for that budget, was not an issue. Same with Elmira Heights Central School District. But in Corning, it was defeated by nearly 60% when they needed 60% to change, or to pass it, I mean. And Horseheads About 51% voted yes, but they needed to hit that 60% threshold. The also other big story this morning, the DOJ has opened an investigation into Andrew Cuomo over the nursing home death testimony. Kind of, you could say, an update from yesterday's program. That is a big, big story. Okay, comment from a different viewer. You are right about the Corning Painter Post budget ploy, but it's been done so many times. Will people fall for it again? Great question. Time will tell. I'm always curious by that. And I do find school budgets very interesting in New York State because so many people really, I'm not going to say on both sides of the aisle, but a little bit complain about how expensive it is to live in New York State, how there's not really the bang for your buck. You pay a lot of money. That's why so many people are leaving in droves, a mass exodus. So when they have an opportunity to say enough is enough and vote down a tax increase, they still so often vote for it. So it's hard to complain about being broke in this state when you vote yourself a tax. But I know there's reasons for that because they do a good job of pretending that you are hurting kids, essentially, if you don't vote for it. When we know, and it's becoming more and more prevalent that people know, that it's about administration. Quickly, because we've got to talk about the book that everybody's talking about, but more so because there's been so much pushback on the media because of it. But first, did you see Marco Rubio sparring with Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen? Chris Van Hollen is the senator that went and visited El Salvador and met with Abrego Garcia. Well, Chris Van Hollen told Marco Rubio, your campaign of fear and repression is eating away at the foundational values of our democracy. And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. Rubio then shot back, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job based on what I know about your record and what you stand for. Well, then Van Hollen, kind of pouting, says, that's just a flippant statement, Mr. Secretary. He wanted to get away with that clip that would be played on every legacy news outlet that was, I regret voting for you. Rubio wasn't having it. And so then that's when, not expecting the pushback, Van Hollen had to say, just a flippant statement. Rubio said, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation. So they kept interrupting Rubio. It's that grandstanding. It's that political show. This is what Rubio had to say. Finally, in the case of El Salvador, absolutely, we deported gang members. Gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger. And the evidence is going to be clear in the days to come. Well, Van Hollen, again, I think they're starting to realize that that was horrible optics for a party that came off such a devastating defeat last November, to be siding with someone as his record came out more and more, which was his wife saying that she was abused by him, that there was video of him being arrested in a car involved in human trafficking, et cetera, et cetera. So for Rubio to call him out about having a margarita with him, I think hits a little close to home for Van Hollen, who's probably maybe now having a little regret for that photo op. He said, you can't make unsubstantiated comments like that. Secretary Rubio should take the testimony to the federal court of the United States because he hasn't done it under oath. I mean, very kind of pathetic grasping at straws attempt by Van Hollen to respond. But if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend you watch those clips. Okay, the new book, Original Sin, has been released. People even on the left, and those in the media, who did not report on this, did not report on Biden's declining mental capabilities. So they didn't respond, or report on it. So now they're trying to cover their you-know-whats. But some in the media are upset that it's even being discussed. And there was speculation yesterday, we talked about it on the program, even by those in the legacy media, that the announcement of the prostate cancer diagnosis was perhaps a way to silence the talk on this book, as well as silence the talks about the leaked audio from the Her investigation. Kamala Harris was left one thing that we learned about the book, and then we're going to talk about the media's coverage. Did you see that Kamala Harris, there's one point where she pretty much cut ties with Biden, where it's pretty much over with him campaigning for her? That was at that Shanksville firehouse. We talked about it extensively at the time. It was all over social media when Biden put on the Trump hat. Remember that? Harris saying, "What is he doing? This is completely unhelpful and so unnecessary." That's when Trump made hay with it, saying, "Thanks for your support, Joe," et cetera, et cetera. So according to Tapper and Thompson, Harris advisors adopted gallows humor about Biden's many missteps, such as when he told party loyalists that we got to lock him up in reference to the former president and then Republican nominee. Meanwhile, the authors report Biden had seen Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and others out on the campaign trail and wanted to be out there too. He didn't seem to understand what a liability he had become. And that was when also he made the statement about Trump supporters being garbage. So that's when they turned. But Jake Tapper actually had an interview with Megyn Kelly, and Megyn Kelly called him out for his lack of reporting. And now he's doing that kind of weak, yes, I guess I should have done more, and with humility this, and I'm humble that. And Tapper told Kelly he felt tremendous humility about his past coverage of the former president. We don't need to go what's in the book. We've talked about what's in the book. She saw something, meaning Laura Trump, because one of those clips that kept being played was Jake Tapper getting very nasty, very snarky with Laura Trump during an interview where Laura Trump was calling out the awkward speeches of Biden. And Jake Tapper instantly, in very typical legacy media fashion, said, "Oh, so you're picking on someone that had a stutter at one point," trying to guilt her, trying to make her feel bad, trying to paint her as someone that's not caring. So Tapper said of Laura Trump in that tense exchange, "She saw something that I did not see at the time 100%, and I own that." No, you own that now. This is too little too late, in my opinion. Pressed by Kelly on whether he had apologized, Tapper replied, "I already apologized to her. I called her months ago." He said the conversation went well. "After we did the research for the book and I realized how bad his acuity issues were, I called Laura Trump and I said, you were right." So think of that statement. After we did the research for this book. So that's when the research began. After Biden had was no longer relevant, was not an entity, a political entity any longer. That's when it was decided that this is when we are going to do our research. I mean, they should be embarrassed, the whole media, but they are in full defense mode. I don't think they're doing a good job in that defense mode, but that is where they're at. Again, Tapper claimed at the time that he was at a stutter. Now, during the interview, Kelly and Tapper said the cover-up extended well beyond the press. He and Thompson interviewed more than 200 Democrat insiders, many of whom admitted they downplayed Biden's condition due to fear of a Trump victory. "They justified everything in their minds," said Tapper. "After the election, they were remarkably willing to talk to us." According to Tapper, aides described two Bidens, one competent and one visibly impaired, then suggesting that it was one of those bad nights during the debate. But during the exchange, Megyn Kelly had a good point, repeatedly pressing Tapper on why he failed to confront Biden about his apparent cognitive issues following a widely publicized gaffe involving the late Representative Jackie Walorski. Weeks after the accident, Biden asked, "Where's Jackie?" You remember that. Well, around that same time, Tapper sat down with the president for an interview. Yet, as Megyn Kelly pointed out, he never raised the incident or questioned Biden about his mental sharpness. Quote, "You sat right across from him and you asked none of that, notwithstanding the fact that he had promised you he would be fully transparent about his health issues." The weak response from Tapper is that he opted to bring up broader questions about Biden's age. "You know as well as I do," Kelly said, "that there's a way you can say, hey, there's this poll on your age, or you could say you just forgot that Jackie Walorski was dead." And she suggested Tapper's framing allowed Biden to evade real accountability, especially at a time when public doubts about his mental fitness were intensifying. In response, Tapper acknowledged, saying, "That's correct. I didn't. I look back at my coverage with humility. I wish I did cover the issues of age and acuity, but I wish I'd covered them, or I wish I did cover the issues of age and acuity, but I wish I'd covered them much more. This is him trying to rewrite history. He was not covering this. He doesn't wish he could go back. If Biden today was still, was president, won a second term, there would still not be talks about his mental acuity. We probably would not know about his prostate cancer diagnosis. So Jake Tapper is being disingenuous there, and because he's lost credibility in his reporting before on this, I don't know if people give him the credibility in his answers. I have no reason to doubt what is said in the book, but except for the part where he downplays the media's role in this. But I think he and his media brethren lost all credibility in their lack of reporting. Joe Scarborough yesterday was forced to explain why he thought Biden was at his best ever in March of 2024. We're going to talk about that. Going to read your comments. Got some comments coming in. Got some waves. If you have any questions about the various budget votes, let me know. But I don't want to run too late because in about 7 minutes, we're going to be talking with Michael Volino. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When it comes to fun, it's what we do. See the Spinners live. Get tickets now for $20 at Ticketmaster.com and the gift shop. All sales benefit the Southern Tier Veterans Support Group, Tioga Downs Casino Resort. Fun is what we do.
I'm Grace.
I'm Ida, and I lived in California.
Timmy was just a puppy when I moved in. He's a emotional support animal.
I had Missy, who was 15 years old and blind.
Likes the people, he likes to greet all the people. All the employees are happy to see him.
I feel that my pets are very welcome here. I feel very welcome here. I think it's great.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
When it's to fun, it's what we do. See the Spinners live. Get tickets now for $20 at Ticketmaster.com and the gift shop. All sales benefit the Southern Tier Veterans Support Group, Tioga Downs Casino Resort.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Yes, we had a comment from a viewer. Corning's budget vote results. Sure, we've been reading them this morning, but have no problem repeating that. The budget for the Corning Pinning Post School District was defeated. Strongly defeated. Nearly 60% voted no for the budget, and all propositions, the other two propositions, both failed as well, probably because of their being so close to the asking of 8% increase. But yes, Corning Paint and Post budget did fail resoundingly. In Horseheads, that failed, not as resoundingly, but 51% voted yes on the budget, but they needed that 60%. Okay. Couple comments from viewers. Mark writes, the difference between Biden and Trump. Biden was run by his party, and Trump runs his party. That's a very good way of putting it, Mark. Thank you for that. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. The people of Corning Painted Post School District have spoken. I'll vote yes when every administrator takes a $50,000 cut in pay. I'm not giving up my land so they can live high on the hog. That is a very good point. And I'm going to be curious about how this goes with the next proposal that they put forth, the next budget, if people will see through kind of the ask really high and then only go down a little bit, but act as if it's the tightening of the belt. We'll see. Time will tell on that, but I understand. I heard from so many people. You here saying you don't want to give up your land. I've heard people say similar things, that they're going to have to move. They just can't afford to live here anymore. So I totally understand your thoughts on that. Okay, back to the book. Joe Scarborough was confronted with a viral clip. Remember how smug he was in that clip too? How arrogant he was? That Biden was at his best ever. And that everybody who's suggesting otherwise is essentially cruel. They're lying to you. So he was speaking to Mark Halperin. Scarborough watched the clip of himself where he argued that the former president was far beyond cogent. Quote, I've said it for years now, he's cogent, but I undersold it when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been intellectually because he's been around for 50 years. Start your tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. This is that arrogant, smug, like he's so much smarter than everybody else and everybody's paying attention and hanging on every word of Joe Scarborough. So he said, start your tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. And blank you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. This is what happens when you get overly smug and overly arrogant. After noting that Biden had good days and bad days, Halperin asked Scarborough, looking back at that, do you say, well, it was misleading to say best Biden ever without caveating it and saying except on the days that he's not the best Biden ever? Scarborough insisted he never saw the bad days personally. So are we really to believe it? I'm not saying there's not good and bad days. I'm sure there was. But we're supposed to believe that everybody who is now trying to defend the way they cover this only ever saw the good days. How remarkable is that? How frequent were the good days? So he insisted he never saw a bad day, Joe Scarborough. Earlier in the conversation, Scarborough detailed multiple meetings he had with Biden, during which the MSNBC host argued that Biden had a better analysis of the situation related to Ukraine and Russia than he had heard from most people. Halperin pushed back and told Scarborough, well, you did because you saw him address a dead congresswoman and you saw him in South Carolina. Halperin argued that he could show Scarborough several clips from days when the former president was not the best Biden ever, and Scarborough pivoted the conversation to none other than Trump. The View did the same thing. But this is what's so interesting. They realize that they can say, oh, I never saw bad days. You did. You saw him speak to a dead congresswoman. You saw him wandering around and you saw the statements that he was making. So you did see this. It's disingenuous and it's an outright lie to say you didn't. You just didn't want to report on those nasty facts because you didn't like Trump. Scarborough said he stumbled and bumbled around, Mark. I mean, yeah, he certainly did. Donald Trump did. Other politicians did. And actually the same case a lot of times when I've gone in to talk to Donald Trump. We go on to Donald Trump and I've heard the media narrative around Trump. I've certainly been very critical of Donald Trump. And when I leave, I have a better understanding, just like Jeffrey Goldberg did a couple of weeks ago, a better understanding of where Donald Trump is mentally. If Donald Trump is losing it, like people have said through the years, or not. And so again, am I going to look at a clip that's gone viral and pay more attention to that than 2.5, 3 hours I had with a guy one-on-one going around the world? No. I'm just not going to. Are some of the clips bad? Yeah, they certainly are bad. Put it in the proper context. I'm just not going to freak out and melt down on 1 or 2 clips here and there. And again, he bumbled around and he stumbled around, but he has for quite some time. That didn't seem to me to get the way of Joe Biden being able to analyze the most important issues. Remember the time he attacked her and others. But again, I didn't have to report on the things that were going viral and that made the news because it would be disastrous for my worldview. Keep your comments coming in. When we come back, we're going to be talking with candidate for Steuben County Legislature in the 9th District. That's Cameron, Canastillo, and Thurston. He's also running for re-election for town supervisor in the town of Thurston. Michael Valino, he'll be joining us when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Attention all, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. On your mark, get set, row.
Anyone, anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his arm.
With cameras everywhere, you can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon. Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox. The Big's website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. It's good to have you back in the studio, Mike.
Hey, great to be back, Frank.
You've got a lot going on. So you're a candidate, as the screen says, candidate for legislator, District 9, and then Thurston Town Supervisor. Before we get into why you ran and all the who, what, when, where, and why questions, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
Okay, thanks, Frank. So I'm a lifelong resident of Steuben County, born and raised in Thurston, 2005 graduate of Campbell Savona, 2009 graduate of Geneseo with a degree in political science. I then kind of switched gears, spent 6 years owning and operating the Town Talk Bakery in Canisteo. And since 2018, I've been back living in Thurston, involved in town government since that point, first as town historian, joining the town board in 2020, and then Thurston Town Supervisor since March of 2023.
Wow, how's that went? It was a big learning curve?
It's been a huge learning curve. I must say, though, the past 2 years have been two of the most rewarding years of my life, professionally.
Sure.
It's been a wonderful endeavor.
Well, and you did a good job of getting media attention and attention in general to the voters on sludge, right?
Right.
And so you really took something on head on that was a pretty major deal.
It was a major deal. We were able to push back on the state, who wanted to allow municipal sewage sludge, toxic sewage sludge, to come to Thurston from Long Island. We feel we've really been leaders, countywide. Cameron, Rathbone are looking at this yesterday, or on Monday. I know the county passed a memorandum,
I think so,
in support of, there's a 5-year moratorium being proposed by the Assembly and the State Senate to put a moratorium on it statewide. So we in Thurston feel like we've really been leaders, statewide on this issue.
So why did you town supervisor, and there is a primary there too, why did you decide to also run for Steuben County legislator?
I think my time as town supervisor has prepared me well to serve also as a county legislator. I thought about doing it, 4 years ago, running for county legislator, but I felt a little unsure. And, through the training I've done through the Association of Towns, through the Office of State Comptroller, I feel like the roles would go hand in hand. And if I'm going to continue being town supervisor, makes sense to serve as county legislator.
Do you feel like your time as supervisor will help you in that role if you're lucky enough to win?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think it will.
Yeah. So what would you say, the question I'm going to ask is, what is your goals if you're a legislator? Or we could also put it as a kind of, what is your party platform? What is your platform for running for legislator?
I think so let me say, first, when I became town supervisor, I felt like there were issues such as the sewage sludge issue that had been going on for 40 years had not been addressed, like the concerns of the residents weren't being addressed. And I really feel, these past 2 years as town supervisor, I've listened to the concerns of residents and acted on them. I want to do the same thing at the county level. I feel, I attend, Thurston meetings, of course, I'm there every month.
Of course.
I attend several Cameron meetings. The Cameron Town Supervisor, he's been very supportive, kind of like a mentor, Bob Manley. We have no legislator, at our meetings. And the same, I know, goes for Canisteo. And if a legislator isn't present at the town meetings, how do you connect with the residents? How do you understand their concerns, and how do you advocate them for them at the county level? So I really want to be accessible and accountable and hear what people have to say.
What do you see as being issues that you will have to deal with if you win legislator?
So a couple things. The big thing I've heard as I've been doing the petition process is I don't have any high-speed internet, or I don't have access to cell service. And I know that's an issue, certainly for District 9. I know in Thurston, we still have 30% of our residents that don't have access to cell service or high-speed internet. So that's really becomes an emergency. If you have an emergency, that's a kind of life or death situation. So really pushing for that. I know there is funding coming every year from the state. I know Steuben County has funding for this. We just need to push that forward. And then, of course, the other big thing, certainly for Cameron and Canisteo, we were fortunate in Thurston, haven't seen the flooding, but Cameron, Canisteo, I know, being devastated by the flooding and really advocating on their behalf, working with, counterparts at the state and federal level to get them, the help they need.
Well, you beat me to the punch on that one. Okay. So the next question I was going to ask was the two, I would argue, when I went out and got petition signed for other candidates, that the two biggest stories I would hear about, or conversations I would have, one was on flooding, which you just covered. Right. The other one is on the county and the dealing with the Sheriff Jim Allard, and the indemnification, which I hate that word. It's so complicated. But where do you stand with the sheriff and that with the county?
I'm certainly, in support of the sheriff. I'm not in support of continuing the appeal, this ongoing legal battle between the county legislature and the sheriff.
And you actually, and I would like to ask why you felt this so necessary, but I thought it was great. We read it on the air. Your support for the county sheriff, and that was by the statement from you and the board.
Right. We as a town board decided to, at our April board meeting, to pass a resolution in support of Sheriff James Allard after we found that our local representative voted to continue this appeal. And I know throughout the petitioning process, it's clear he has support. He's a duly elected individual, first elected in 2016, 2020, and then he was reelected with 78% of the vote in 2024. So I would challenge any of the legislators that voted to appeal this decision to run countywide and get it 78% of the vote. So that's one thing. And then I think the second thing is really the financial cost to the county. I know the county really works to keep the tax cap, stay below the 2% tax cap. I've done the same thing as town supervisor in Thurston. But when you do that, you have to be real meticulous about how we're spending money. And spending $200,000 since November 2023 on a legal challenge we knew probably was going to fail from the get-go, and then appealing it now, we're going to spend more tax dollars, and we know the appeal is going to fail. So, yeah.
Now, you had mentioned some of the issues people talked to you about. I did too when you were on petitions. How did the petition process go for you?
I really enjoy the petition process. I've talked to close to 260 people throughout, between Thurston, Cameron, Canisteo. It gives you a chance to connect one-on-one with individuals and hear their concerns. And people overall, very, very gracious. Few people don't answer the door, but overall.
That's the
good.
system, right? Well,
Yeah.
it's so cold, no one wants to open the door normally when it's out. How many how many signatures did you need to get?
So ballpark, I needed roughly 200, so about 265 got a little over, so yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
What did you say, and you kind of highlighted it a little bit earlier, what did you find to be the biggest issues, besides maybe flooding, that people are dealing with? And the internet.
So kind of interesting. I think, certainly I carried the two petitions, one for town supervisor, the other for county legislator. When I visited with people, in Cameron, Canisteo, the big thing was, and even Thurston, they're like, oh, we have a county legislator? What do they do?
Yeah.
Like, so it's
that
so that was like the first thing that came out of probably 80% of people's, so that breakdown of communication, it really need to work, and I want to really be an active county legislator. In Thurston, I really don't need introductions anymore when I go to someone's door.
Sure.
People know who I am. I want the same for, hopefully I can run again in 4 years if I get elected. I want the same in Cameron and Canisteo in 4 years, that everyone knows who I am.
What has the feedback been about you deciding to run for legislator?
People, have been very supportive. They think it, makes sense to run for both roles. I know there's a lot of county legislators that also serve as town supervisors.
Sure.
Years ago, Steuben County was run by the Board of Supervisors. So,
Right. Do you find it challenging to take on both campaigns?
It is challenging, but I think as my time as town supervisor has shown, I'm always up for a good challenge. So,
Well, you mentioned that. What would you say is your biggest accomplishment when you look back at it as town supervisor?
I think certainly, the sewage sludge, certainly. But I've worked really hard to kind of restore, I feel, communication with residents, with the various department heads. We have created a townwide newsletter. We are very active with our Facebook, with our website. We've opened our meetings up to Zoom. Started working closely with, the fire department, the highway department. These are things that never happened before. And then I feel we as a board communicate very well, which is something that I know prior didn't happen. And so I'm also very proud we have worked to secure a lot of grant funding. We have a housing rehabilitation. We were awarded $400,000 last year for that. So that's going to be getting underway in the next month or two. So.
And we go back to the campaign, and you are running for Thurston Town Supervisor, but also candidate for legislator, Steuben County legislator. These are primaries that we're talking about right now. With that short time frame, because I do think it's interesting, June 24th is the vote, right? Right. But then if you win that primary, you have all the way till November to campaign. Right. You've got all that time in the world, it seems like. So with this short time frame, how do you intend to run your campaign?
Really, I have some great volunteers helping me out. I have my personal goal, every day I got to talk to 3 to 4 people. I just have that in my back of my mind. So it's just really just talking to people and going door to door.
Well, I also noticed that you're because it's not all, you can't get to every door. Right. I mean, that's the nature of the campaign, of any campaign. But you have, and I've seen other people decide to do this as well. I think it's a good idea, a kind of a meet the candidate event. Right.
So we have scheduled 2 meet the candidate events. The first one will be held on Saturday, May 31st from 11 to 2. That will be at the Cameron Mills Market, County Route 119 in Cameron Mills, New York. Thanks to our volunteers, there will be free food and drinks. So come down, have something to eat, and let's chat.
Yeah.
And then the second event will be Friday, June 6th, and then Saturday, June 7th. We'll be at Canisteo Crazy Days set up there. So yeah, we'll hang around there. I'll be there during the day. Happy to talk.
Great. And just before we go, how can people help out your campaign and perhaps find out more about you?
Right. So, we're posting on Facebook, but also send me an email, votevalino@gmail.com, and I will certainly get back to you, and we can, like to talk, whatever. So,
all right.
yeah.
Before we go, this is the big question. What would you say to voters before they head into the booth on January? Listen to me, on June 24th for the primaries.
Well, I would say first, early voting starts June 14th, so get out and vote, and then primary day is June 24th. And then I just want people to remember, I'm working for you. I believe a public servant. I'm here to serve the public. I don't have any private, interests beside other than, working on your behalf.
Sure.
So,
well, thanks so much for doing this, and I know we'll talk again before the primary. At least I hope we can. All right.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Frank.
Best of luck with your Meet the Candidates.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
When you're on, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Get yours at Current Power Sports in Pine City, New York and Wellsboro, Pennsylvania.
Seniors is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar recognizing and avoiding financial scams and identifying elder abuse. Monday, June 9th at the Corning Senior Center in Corning, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and learn fraud watch tips. Come to the Corning Senior Center in Corning, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. on June 9th. Learn more. Go to steubencountyny.gov/235.
Attention, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta. A day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. On your
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you to Michael Valino for being our guest this morning. Also, of course, in the 6 o'clock hour, Judy Rowe. Two great guests. On tomorrow's program, we have two great guests as well. In the 6 o'clock hour, we'll be talking with Elisa Trosha. She'll be telling us about the Miss Colonial Days pageant, and registration is due for that very soon. So you'll want to learn all about that, especially if you have any kids or grandkids that you think would be perfect for Miss Colonial Days. Listen in the 6 o'clock hour tomorrow for Elisa. Then in the 7 o'clock hour, Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard will be joining us. Fan favorite. And then on Friday's program, former Congressman, current Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski will be our guest. That's on Friday. So get your questions in for any of those guests. Also, the breaking news this morning, both Corning Painted Post and Horseheads school budgets did fail. Significantly fail. In the case of Corning Painted Post, about 60% voted no on the budget, and the other two propositions failed as well, probably being adjacent to that Proposition 1. And then Horseheads, 51% voted yes for the budget, but it needed 60% to hit that threshold. Another breaking news story, the DOJ has opened an investigation into Andrew Cuomo over the New York nursing home death testimony. So that's where we stand this morning. Comment from some viewers. Sergeant Dave writes, "Morning, Frank." Well, hey, morning, Sergeant Dave. If anyone has a sense of reality, they all just ignored the reality of Biden was an empty chair and the Democrats were running a rogue government for 4 years. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Who was behind the curtain? And there looks to be some perhaps potential investigations into that. we're going to get to here in just a second. Comment from a different viewer. Morning. Well, good morning. Just a comment and an opinionated observation. My nephew has just become a fully fledged doctor. However, in spite of his being highly intelligent, he has wholeheartedly embraced every single lie and misinformation that the fake news has been spreading about the Republicans. For example, he thinks President Trump will raise taxes, make cuts to Social Security, Medicaid, etc. I suppose this makes sense since he graduated from NYU, but given that he has wholeheartedly bought the lies and propaganda, and especially in view of his obvious intelligence, it is disconcerting that many people like him are too lazy to do their homework in order to discover the facts and therefore the truth. That's a great point. I will say, I think it's not so much about doing the homework or laziness. There is a comfort in having your worldview confirmed. That's why, Stephen Colbert and people like that are somewhat popular, because people want to tune in at the end of the day and just clap like seals and laugh at the 1 millionth corny joke about the orange man, and it confirms their worldview instead of making the real serious decision, let's put it that way, to say, hey, let's think outside the box. Let's look to other outlets and see if I'm correct. Maybe, that's an uncomfortable place to be. It's out of your comfort zone for many people. I would find being surrounded by like-minded people and being in that bubble and just viewing the echo chamber would be a very tedious existence. And I think it's always fun to try to learn and expand and look at different avenues. I would argue that when it comes to show prep, I am on more left-leaning outlets than right-leaning. And just in my life, having people around that are very liberal in certain instances, I think is helpful. But unfortunately, yes, people, I don't even know if it's a laziness. It's about getting outside of your comfort zone. I had some more comments coming in. I didn't have a chance to read them ahead of time. We'll read them in the next segment. We were talking about the book Original Sin and how the media is now being criticized for not doing their job to begin with, but now profiting off of not doing that job. Now, Jake Tapper can keep saying, well, humility, and yes, I wish I would have done more. You didn't wish you would have done more. If you thought it was going to hurt Biden and help Trump in any way, you weren't going to report on the real facts. So don't tell us you wish you would have now. It's too little, too late. Well, even Jon Stewart, who is no fan of conservatives, tore into CNN on his show the other day. We missed this, talking about this on yesterday's broadcast, but forgetting about the fact how blanking weird it is that the news is selling you a book about news they should have told you was news a year ago for free. That's a great point. Making money off of not doing your job. It's just fun to watch them not only continue to push the book in light of this difficult news, but to actually frame this difficult news as perhaps even more of the reason to buy this book. That's in reference to the recent cancer diagnosis. Now, a lot of people are saying, David Axelrod and Jon Stewart kind of, if you read between the lines, hinting here too, that we shouldn't be talking about this book. We shouldn't say anything bad about Biden because of that diagnosis. But many people are now wondering if that timing on that isn't questionable about that announcement, if it wasn't known well before, or how long, or was this part of the cover-up that we're hearing so much about. Now, Stewart mocked CNN's on-air campaign for Tapper's book, which reportedly includes revelations about Biden's cognitive decline, as well as embarrassing anecdotes about the former president forgetting the names of his top aides. Stewart said, don't news people have to tell you what they know when they find it out? Isn't that the difference between news and a secret? You won't believe what we found out. Nope, that's why I'm watching. Breaking news in a week. Yeah, that was really the attitude. And for them to say, like Joe Scarborough, well, I wasn't there on the bad days, but you saw the clips. You saw what was viral in regards to Biden. But you, and Jake Tapper said this the other day, essentially took what the Biden administration and the spokespeople for Biden said as gospel. You didn't do any research of your own. So if this is how they're trying to blame Biden's people. Well, they kept telling us everything's okay. Well, wouldn't a good reporter, a dogged reporter, say, wait a minute, I saw with my own eyes these clips. Maybe we should do a little more research. Nope, not until after the fact, until Biden is no longer relevant, no longer a political entity. That is when the real reporting begins. Stewart said, you've prepared an entire smorgasbord based on what you thought would be a relatively uncomplicated story about mental decline. News has the countdown clock. They got the book graphics. They got the CNN Happy Meal tie-in toys. But now doing the story seems almost disrespectful, and that's in reference to the cancer diagnosis He doesn't like that that's even being reported on, which I think would have ultimately been the goal. Now, the View melted down over it as well. We're going to tell you about that. Then we're going to move on and go through some things quickly because this show is moving fast, and we are almost done. I can't believe it. I got a lot of comments coming in, so stay with us. Weigh in on all the issues of the day. Again, Corning and Horseheads budgets did fail. If you are in a school district that is not Corning or Horseheads, let me know, and I'll try to do my best to read you the results. I have a pretty extensive list here. Just let me know and text that number on the bottom of the screen. All right, stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Advanced robotic surgery is now available in the Southern Tier. With the Da Vinci Surgical System, experienced local surgeons at UR Medicine St. James and Jones Memorial Hospitals can perform minimally invasive procedures with greater precision.
That means less pain, shorter hospital stays, and a faster recovery so you can get back to life sooner.
Trust the expertise of your local surgeons and the most advanced technology for your surgery.
You no longer need to travel for cutting-edge surgical care.
Visit robotics.urmc.edu for more information.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the Southern Tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. A lot of great comments from viewers. Let's get right to them. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. You previously mentioned how many teachers there are in the school district. Someone has the local data on employers in the area. I'd like to hear where the education industry falls on the list of local industries. That's a great question. Including all teachers, administrative, board, building, maintenance, grounds, busing, and throwing Corning Community College, as that is the same business heading. While Corning Inc. and Ingersoll Rand used to be the major employers in the area, I suspect that property owners now foot the bill for the biggest spend in the area. That is a very good point. If I can get those numbers for you, Fred, I will do that, because I would. That's why, again, to my point, that I was nervous in a way about the turnout, because I thought such a big turnout, that everybody that has some connection to the school, whether they work there or their spouse works there or their kid works there, et cetera, and how far that expands, they would be out in full force to vote yes. So I didn't know if, just judging from the line that I was in anecdotally, I didn't know if it was a good or bad thing, if I'm being honest. Ultimately, Corning Penny Post, of course, did fail significantly. So yes, that would be a fascinating number. I'll look into that. Comment from a different viewer. I hope people will turn out again when it's presented, as it will be, and stick to the no vote. We need to send a signal loud and clear that changes need to be made and results need to be shown. Ditch the Chromebook, more transparency. Great point. I think it would go a long way if they could say at these hearings, at these forums, that, okay, we hit you hard last year and we are trying to this year, but this is our plan for the future. So next year we can stay at this percent, or hopefully stay at this percent. Now, I know they can't give down to the dollar amounts for the year ahead, but they never show that they're working on the problem. It's just every year they look to taxpayers as a cash cow. And because budgets passed just so easily in years gone by, that I think it became a non-issue until last year. And people were upset last year, but after the first no vote, they said, okay, fine, you cut back a little bit, just get your house in order. And then they come in this year even higher and saying 8%. And I think for many it was a bridge too far. It was, hey, you've got to tell us how you're working on this, fixing this. So you raise a good point. Comment from a different viewer. I wonder what Ukraine thinks about their country falling for Biden's cover-up. What did his cognitive decline have to do with failure to negotiate before the Ukraine war? Thank you for that. Comment from a different viewer. Yesterday I was distracted by my grandchildren, and I missed much of your James Comey topic. Well, that sounds like more fun anyway, so I'm glad. If you're going to miss it, do it for something fun. I'm amazed by his lack of professionalism in what was such a high position. He must be starving for attention, yes, to feel the need to even post this seashell nonsense. With his amazing investigative skills, you would think that he would know who created such a quote-unquote cool statement in the sand. What low standards for such a position. You're right, and it is. He loves that attention. We saw it so much during the first Trump administration, and right before then, during the election. He loves that attention, and so he posted that, and then he got to get on MSNBC and do an interview, and it's so exciting for him. And you can tell by the way he described the seashells, he has a very awkward personality. I'm guessing he wasn't Mr. Cool in high school, we'll put it that way. So I think he likes that attention, that pat on the back from the quote-unquote cool kids in the media, which unfortunately many in Washington do view them as that. So thank you for that. Get your last-minute comments in because we've got to take a break here, and I want to read your comments before we wrap up the show. One last thing on the book, a couple last things. The View melted down yesterday while discussing that new book by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sonny Hoiston criticized Donald Trump throughout the discussion, wondering why it was important to learn about the Biden cover-up now amid what they claimed were Trump's atrocities early in the second term. All he is doing is hawking this book on CNN, meaning Jake Tapper. And he's flanked by other people, Brian Stetler and Van Jones, also hawking his book. When did CNN become a place to hawk your book? Is Wolf Blitzer coming out with a cookbook? Said Joy Behar. That passes for humor, by the way. Just note that to yourself on The View. Behar then went on to say, when is Jake Tapper going to write about the cognitive decline of the person in charge right now? If there was, don't you think they would love to be reporting on it? Don't you think there would be wall-to-wall coverage of it? Alison Farrah Griffin defended Tapper and said, and this is where I take issue with some folks on the left. We stand with journalism. We stand with the free press. When they're going after their opponents, like Donald Trump, but when they critically cover Democrats, oh no, they're lying. It's fairy dust. It's not true. That is a great point. We stand with the free press. We stand with journalism, unless they go against us. We've made that point a million times on this program. Griffin noted that criticism from Biden's family was to be expected. With political figures attacking these two, how is that pro-democracy? How is that pro-Fourth Estate to say, oh, but when you come after Democrats, suddenly you're liars? Goldberg responded by saying, if you're telling me that hundreds of people knew that he was not able to do his job, then where the heck was everybody? That's kind of the definition of a cover-up, Whoopi. That's where the problem is. Hoiston said, what I do think that we should be very, very concerned about are the people who were in the Trump administration that did hold on to information about how Trump was conducting the presidency, so how they could make money off their book. We're talking about former National Security Advisor John Bolton, who came on the show hawking his book, and I told him, what did you say? Why didn't you say anything before? Yeah, so now it's Trump's problem. Trump is the actual problem. This is exactly, they prove the point why people are so upset. But by the way, I guess word of the day yesterday, hawking. There you go. All right, last break. Read your comments when we come back and wrap up today's edition. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, and batteries never need charging.
This is Life Alert. I'm calling for help right now.
Life Alert saves a life from a catastrophe every 11 minutes.
For a free brochure, call 1-800-806-2212. 1-800-806-2212.
Anyone, anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car.
With cameras everywhere, you can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
If you or one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are just about out of time, and I want to read some comments as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Rick writes in this morning. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. Hey, Trump, how did your love meeting go? Or was it a fall in line or else meeting? What a great leader. Thomas Massie should be voted out of office because he won't fall in line. I laughed at how many people followed him down the hall on the way in. What a joke. Looked like the mob rolling in. Like I said, after what he pulled on January 6th, he shouldn't be allowed in that place. Not sure why people support a person with his history and with the negativity he portrays and the lies he tells on a daily basis. How do we let ourselves get backed into such an ugly corner? Now let's talk about Trump's big military bash, which is what it is. He is the most underserving person I can think of for a military parade on the planet. The most undeserving person I can think of for a military parade on the planet. An honor like that has to be earned. He hasn't earned it. What was it he called our troops? That's been discredited, but I'm not going to go through the whole line, Rick. I don't tend to do that. Our son went to Baghdad twice for this country. Well, thank you to your son. Don't insult our troops, Trump. You want to pray, do us all a favor, and march back down to La La Land at Mar-a-Lago. Thanks, Rick. Comment from a different viewer from Mark. I'm glad they hid Biden's decline because if they didn't, probably Kamala Harris would have taken over as president. Think of what that would have done. Yeah, if you look at her spending on her budget. Hey, quickly, Trump's DOJ lawyer is floating criminal charges for Jill Biden because of this cover-up. Listen to this. How about ending the program on this? AOC is now seen as the face of the Democrat Party, according to polls, and it's not even close. That's how much she is the face of the Democrat Party. And if you have a second, go to New York Post, read Jonathan Turley's great article, Democrats are shocked that breaking the law leads to their arrest. We're out of time. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks to all of our guests. We can talk more about the school budget tomorrow if you want. Big day. But thank you to Judy Rowe, and thank you to Michael Volino. We'll be back tomorrow morning with Sheriff Jim Allard, and Elisa Trosha. This has been Frankly Speaking. See you tomorrow. Look forward to it already.
When you think swimming pools, think Hesselson's. Hesselson's offers expert advice, professional service, and a complete line of chemicals and accessories. Replacement liners, motors and pumps, automatic vacuums, skimmers, ladders, steps, and more. Hesselson's has it all. Do you have a chemical question? Come in for Hesselson's free computerized water analysis and the widest selection of chlorine and specialty chemicals. With Hesselson's help, you can clean up any pool problem and swim in sparkling clean water. Let Hesselson's show you how easy it can be to take care of your swimming pool. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.